Hey everyone, in this particular video I just want to take a few minutes to loop back to the idea of Bible journaling. And the reason I'd love to loop back to this is that I'm aware that for some people the idea of writing in a notebook or a diary or a journal on a regular basis based upon what they've read in the Bible is just an alien idea. And the challenge with alien ideas is that it can be difficult for us to get into new habits and new ways of doing things. And so I just want to try and make it as simple as possible by kind of introducing you to the way that I journal on a daily basis, so that hopefully that will help you to journal and to get into a rhythm that you can then adapt and change and make into your own particular way of journaling. So the first thing that I do at the top of my journal after I've put the date is I basically look at the dashboard of my life. I want to be gauging how I'm doing in my life so that I don't suddenly kind of have a car wreck in my life. And one of the ways that I've learned to do that is by just looking and trying to give an evaluation on a number of different things in my life. The first is this: sleep. If we're not sleeping well, life doesn't feel great. So how am I doing when it comes to sleep? How am I doing when it comes to my emotions? Are my emotions kind of roller coasting up and down, or are they pretty steady at the moment? How am I doing in my relationships? So that would be within my family, within my work teams that I'm part of, and within the church family as a whole. How am I doing? The next one would be, how am I doing when it comes to spiritual disciplines? Things like prayer, Bible reading, solitude, fasting, some of those basic spiritual disciplines. How am I doing? And then the final one is just, what's my kind of view on the level of stress in my life? And I draw a little box and I put the code in the top for each one of those, draw the lines down and then across, and I literally give a number 0 to 10 for each one of those particular areas. The reason I do that is that the numbers for one particular day are almost meaningless, but over, say, a week, I can track the trends in how I'm doing, and it gives me another almost external means for gauging how I'm doing. That in and of itself can be helpful to help me pray. Lord, there's some things here that I really need to lift up to you. The second thing that I do is I use those questions that I gave you a few weeks ago, and I'm just going to remind you of, to help me to study the Bible. So I'll open my Bible, I'll look at a particular passage, and I'll ask myself the question, what does this passage actually say? Not what do I want it to say, but what does it say? And I'll try and write a little summary of what this particular passage says. Then I ask the question, so what does this passage teach me about God? Studying the Bible is about helping me to understand who God is. And so I want to know Him more. And so what does this particular passage help me? How does this particular passage help me to know God more? The next thing I look at is, how does this particular passage speak about sin in general and the sins that I am struggling with in particular? Or you might even want to add to that temptations. You see, the Bible needs to get on the inside of us, and it needs to deal with those things that no one else can see, or very few other people can see. And so I want these passages to be speaking about impatience and envy and those hidden things that go on in my heart. And I want the passages of the Bible to be challenging and changing me. And so I want to write about those things. And sometimes just the sharpness of God's word will pierce my heart, and my only response will be, oh Lord, forgive me. As I've read this passage, I've just seen that there's this whole area of my life that needs to change. Will you forgive me? That's a great response to God's words. The next question is, how is this particular passage helping me to live differently? Being a disciple of Jesus is not just about knowing lots of stuff, it's about having your life, all of who you are, changed and transformed more and more into the image of Jesus. And so how is this particular passage helping me to be more like Jesus? And what do I need to do to change? I'll write them down. Then, how is this particular passage stirring me to worship Jesus more? Reading the Bible and theology is all about worship. It's about leading us to a place where our hearts are stirred again to worship Jesus. So how is this particular passage helping me to worship Jesus? After writing all of that down, I'll then take some time to turn all of my conclusions into a simple prayer that I write down. And the reason that I write it down is that I want my heart to go slowly through all of this. And I want to take some time to really evaluate what is going on and to ask God for His help. And so I found by writing a prayer, it helps me to do that piece of work well. So I want to encourage you. Why don't you have a go at Bible journaling this week?